Have you ever met someone who dresses ordinarily, doesn't drive a fancy car, doesn't have the latest phone, and doesn't wear designer watches, but when needed, they can transfer hundreds of millions or even billions of Vietnamese dong without hesitation? That is the type of person who is quietly rich, someone who doesn't show off, isn't noisy, and doesn't need anyone to know. But they are very, very rich. And there's an interesting truth. The more people show off, the more those who truly possess wealth choose to live a quieter life. You're watching this video perhaps because you are also looking for a different path, a way to succeed without competing for the spotlight, without needing to stand out in the crowd, but still being financially stable. I am here to show you that this is entirely possible. In today's video, I will share with you 5 professions that almost no one talks about, which are not glamorous, do not require high academic degrees, and do not need powerful connections, but their income is enough to change your perception of the concept of wealth. I am not talking about trending professions. I am not talking about quick money. I am talking about sustainable, quiet professions, and once you enter them, you will understand why people can work quietly and get rich quietly. If you used to think that to be rich, you had to be exceptionally talented, have influence, or have strong connections, then you should watch this entire video, because you might be overlooking a path that even the most ordinary people can take. If you believe that success means making a big splash, then perhaps after this video, you will realize that fanfare does not create wealth, but rather quiet daily actions do. And before we begin, if you find this video helpful to you or someone seeking direction in life, please press subscribe to support the channel. I don't make videos to shock. I make them so that those who are quietly striving have another perspective, another path, another opportunity. Now, let's begin. 5 quiet, high-income professions that hardly anyone talks about. There is a common misconception that many young people today are making. They think that to get rich, there are only 2 paths. One is to study very well and get a very high degree, and the other is to do a very famous, very trendy job. But they forget one thing. Money doesn't care which school you attended, and money doesn't care if many people know you. Money only flows to where it is understood and where people know how to make it grow. Many people are living in a thought box built by society. They are taught that only doctors, engineers, directors, or large business owners can earn a lot of money. But what is the reality? There are professions that sound ordinary, have no glamour, and are not mentioned at success parties. But they bring regular, stable income, sometimes many times more than the professions praised by society. Why is that? Because there are professions that serve real needs. Because there are professions that few people dare to do, so those who do them will never be short of work. And because there are professions that are less known and have less competition, their income tends to be higher. A friend of mine who finished middle school, did not go to college, and pursued a profession that no one would think of. It wasn't an office job, not online business, not a creative profession. But after 5 years, he bought a house, got married, had savings of several billion Vietnamese dong, and most importantly, was not stressed about money. What do you think he did? I will tell you later, but what I want you to realize is that not every profession that is praised is a good profession. Not every job that many people know about is a money-making job. And not everyone who is successful needs to tell the whole world how much they are earning. This is what I have learned after more than 10 years of observing, experiencing, and witnessing dozens of people quietly rise up. They chose a path with less dust, less glamour, but full of certainty. When you meet them, you won't think they are rich, but when you sit down and talk, you will be astonished by their mindset, their financial freedom, and the way they choose to live. And that made me ask a question. How many people are missing out on good money-making opportunities just because of prestige? We are living in a society where everyone wants to be recognized, everyone wants to do something that sounds impressive. But do you dare to do a job that isn't glamorous, doesn't get likes, but helps you achieve freedom, provides for your family, and frees you from financial worries? If your answer is yes, then this video is for you, because I will show you that wealth doesn't just have one path.
And sometimes the quietest path is the one with the most money. Now imagine two people with the same starting point. One chooses the path of pursuing a degree, attending university for 4 to 6 years, then graduating and finding an office job with a stable monthly salary. The other chooses to do a job that doesn't require a university degree, starts earlier, and is initially harder. But they can be self-employed, control their time, and their income depends on their ability and is not limited by a fixed salary. After 5 years, the first person might be earning a salary of a little over 10 million Vietnamese dong per month, still paying off a motorcycle and not yet daring to think about buying a house. What about the second person? They might not be called intellectuals, but they have accumulated hundreds of millions, even billions of Vietnamese dong because they chose a path less traveled, less noticed, but with very high practical value. A friend of mine finished high school and didn't go to college. He went to learn a trade and worked with an electrician, plumber for nearly 2 years. Initially, his salary was very low, but after just 3 years of splitting off to work independently, running 3 to 5 repair jobs a day, his average income ranged from 1.5 to 3 million Vietnamese dong per day. In a low month, he could earn about 30 to 40 million, and in a high month, it could reach 70 to 80 million. All of this thanks to a job that society often looks down upon. It doesn't require an office, no loud advertising, just solid skills, dedication, and maintaining a good reputation. Customers refer more customers, and the best part is that he is almost never unemployed. Every house has electricity and water, and those systems can always malfunction. If you want financial freedom, if you want a high income without relying on anyone, this is a profession worth considering. The second profession is one that many people will laugh at when they hear it, but after laughing, they will reconsider. That is scrap metal collection and recycling. I'm not talking about picking up trash. I'm talking about people who do organized scrap metal collection. They build a network. They have people who collect, they have collection points, they have trucks to transport goods, and they have connections to sell to recycling factories. It doesn't sound glamorous, but some scrapyard owners handle tens of millions of Vietnamese dong in goods every day, with a profit margin of 10 to 20%. Working 30 days, they can bring home hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong. A cousin of mine has been doing this profession for over 15 years, starting from scratch. Initially, it was just a tricycle and a scale, but thanks to hard work, not being afraid of dirt, and not caring about what people said, he now has 2 trucks, a nearly 500 square meter warehouse, and earns hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong every month. You know, people often judge professions by clothes, appearance, and reputation, but money doesn't discriminate. Money only comes to those who dare to look deeper than the surface and dare to do things others disdain. Quiet wealth sometimes starts from very small things, but when you do it consistently, for a long time and correctly, it becomes a solid career.
The third profession is one that surprises many people because they thought it was outdated. But in reality, it is a hidden gold mine in the current era. That is household furniture woodworking. From beds, wardrobes, shelves, stairs, wooden doors, to tables and chairs, every house needs them. And as people become more affluent, they don't just need functional items. They need beautiful, durable, personal, unique items. Small woodworking shops, even if not located in city centers, operate at full capacity, sometimes even having to turn down orders because they can't keep up. I once interviewed an older brother who works in this profession on the outskirts of the city. He learned the trade at 18 years old, initially working as an assistant, cleaning wood, painting, and cutting. But after 5 years of persistent learning, he opened a small workshop right next to his house, doing his own work, designing, and delivering. Now, he no longer needs to actively seek customers. Customers find him and place deposits a month in advance. On average, each product yields a profit of several million Vietnamese dong. Selling just 10 orders a month is enough to earn 50 million. In peak months, when working on interiors for an entire house, he can earn hundreds of millions of Vietnamese dong in just a few weeks. No degree, no need to be good at theory, just patience with the craft,
willingness to improve skills, update designs, and maintain reputation. Woodworking will never be outdated because people always need to live in beautiful and convenient spaces. And most importantly, this is a profession that can be passed down from generation to generation. Once you master it, you can teach your children, expand your workshop, train apprentices, and gradually you won't have to work directly, but money will still flow in steadily.
Next, the fourth profession is one that surprises many people because they thought it was just odd jobs, but it creates a steady stream of income every day. That is delivery driver for goods, food, or app-based services. It sounds too ordinary, right? But try to imagine. In a single day, a full-time driver can make 20 to 30 trips, with each trip earning tens of thousands of Vietnamese dong. Earning 700,000 to 1 million Vietnamese dong a day is very normal. Multiply that by 25 working days, and you can reach an income of 20 to 25 million Vietnamese dong a month. Not to mention, many people have their own strategies. They group orders during peak hours. They choose easy areas. They register for additional delivery apps, picking up orders from multiple sources. Some even hire additional drivers to form a small team. A friend of mine, 30 years old, no college degree, had done all sorts of jobs and finally settled on professional delivery. He invested in a good vehicle, neat attire, and maintained a proper attitude. So customers valued him, gave him high ratings, and the system prioritized his orders. The result was that his monthly income was higher than his peers working in office jobs. The good thing about this profession is that you earn as much as you work. There are no limits, no control. And if you know how to calculate, choose your time and orders wisely, this is a job that truly helps many people rise. You don't need a degree, you just need health, quickness, and discipline. And the wonderful thing is that you get real-world exposure, seeing the flow of life every day, something you would never feel sitting in an office. And finally, the fifth profession, one that has been quietly developing strongly in recent years, especially after the pandemic, is in-home elderly care. It sounds simple, but the demand is real. In modern society, children work all day, and elderly parents are frail and have no one to look after them. The elderly need someone to be with them, chat, cook, assist with daily activities, remind them to take medication, and take them to doctor's appointments. And if you think this job is just watching people, you are overlooking an entire service industry with great potential. In large cities, an hourly home caregiver can earn from 80 to 150,000 Vietnamese dong per hour. Working 6 to 8 hours daily, you can have an income comparable to office workers. If you have basic medical knowledge, know first aid, and know how to assist the elderly with movement, you will be paid much higher. I once knew a girl from the countryside who came to the city, initially working as a domestic helper. Later, she took a course in elderly healthcare. After 2 years, she no longer worked as a helper, but worked shifts caring for the elderly by appointment. She only worked 20 days a month, 6 hours a day, and earned nearly 30 million Vietnamese dong, much higher than many of her peers who graduated from college. The good thing about this profession is that it brings real value, not just money, but also the joy of helping others. You are thanked, trusted, and seen as part of the family you care for. And for those who work with dedication, they not only retain clients, but also get referrals. The work is consistent, there is never a shortage of people as the elderly population is growing and medical services are increasingly overloaded. Whoever grasps the trend of home care grasps the opportunity for long-term earnings. And most importantly, this is a profession that few young people dare to do because they are afraid of the hardship, the dirtiness, and what society might think. But if you can overcome those prejudices, you will see that financial opportunity is right in your hands. Quiet, but powerful.
The 5 professions mentioned may not make you famous or admired, but if you choose the right profession, do it the right way, and maintain the right mindset, you can absolutely live a fulfilling, free life without worrying about money. Being quietly rich is not because you can't show off, but because there's no need to show off. Now, stop for a moment and ask yourself, what are you looking for in this life? Fame? Recognition? Or freedom, peace, and the ability to provide for your family without looking at the price every time you buy something? If you choose freedom, the 5 professions I just shared may not be the path for the majority, but they are certainly the path for practical people. Those who understand that the value of a job is not in its name, but in the results it brings. I know there will still be people who will laugh after hearing this. They will say, I wouldn't do those jobs. They're not glamorous. But then a few years later, when they're still struggling, changing jobs with unstable incomes and drowning in debt, those who chose the path of quiet wealth will already have a house, a car, investment capital, and most importantly, they won't have to worry too much about tomorrow. Success is not for those afraid to get their hands dirty. Success is not for those who just sit and wait for perfect opportunities. Success is for those who know how to choose the right battleground and fight there every day. I am not advising you to quit school, nor am I telling you to abandon your current profession. I just want you to broaden your perspective, to know that there are many other paths out there that if you are willing to observe, listen, and start doing, you will find a very different direction, a practical and effective direction. You don't need to do all 5 professions. Just choose one that suits your circumstances, personality, and ability. Do it very well, consistently, for a long time, and then you will see that you don't need to become famous to be rich. You just need to become valuable to the right group of customers. This world does not lack opportunities. It only lacks people who dare to choose ordinary opportunities and make them extraordinary through perseverance. If you are in your 20s or 30s looking for a direction, this is the best time to start. And if you are older doing a job you no longer love with unstable income, it's not too late either. Many people have changed their lives from unexpected jobs just because they dared to think differently and dared to start over. Quiet wealth is not for those who like to show off, but for those who genuinely want to live the life they choose, not the life society imposes. And to walk that path, the path of quiet wealth, you need to change one very important thing: your mindset. The mindset of the quietly rich is not like the majority. They don't chase glamour. They don't try to impress. They don't need to compare themselves to anyone. They only focus on one thing: doing their job well and doing it every day without stopping. Ordinary people choose easy jobs with less pressure but low salaries. The quietly rich choose jobs that few people want to do but have high and stable long-term incomes. Ordinary people follow the crowd, work based on inspiration. If they like it, they do it. If not, they quit. The quietly rich see work as a journey of training, as a responsibility. They're committed to it. Ordinary people often say, I don't have time, I don't have capital, I don't know where to start. The quietly rich will say, I have 2 hours a day, I'll start from there. I don't have capital yet, but I have my labor. I don't know, but I will learn. The biggest difference between the rich and the perpetually poor is not in opportunities, but in how they look at opportunities. Some people look at a job and say, it's boring, no future. Other people look at the same job and say, no one is doing this, I will. Less competition, huge demand. If I do it well, I will have money. And the second type of person is the one quietly succeeding every day, while the first type of person is still complaining, still dreaming of a job that is easy, glamorous, and high-paying but never comes. So if you want to change your life, don't look for the most glamorous job. Look for a job that has real demand, little competition, and you can start right from your current position. Go to work, learn, accept an imperfect start, and then you will see that the most wonderful thing is not that you are smarter than others, but that you are more persistent, more realistic, and quieter than them. Because out there, truly successful people don't have time to show off. They're busy working, busy accumulating, busy living the life that many people only dream of. Quietly rich is not because they have nothing to say, but because what they are doing is valuable enough to speak for itself. And you know what? Quietly rich people aren't often just rich in money. They're also rich in experience, rich in time, and rich in peace. They don't need to check in every day to affirm themselves. They don't need anyone to praise them. Because for them, true satisfaction is when they look at a full bank account, when their children are well educated, when they wake up every morning without having to worry about how much is left in their wallet.
I once asked an uncle who had been a scrap collector for over 20 years if he felt sad when people called this a low-status job. He smiled and replied, "Sad? Yes, but will sadness buy land?"
Will sadness put 3 children through college? That answer left me silent, because in that silence was a whole life lived authentically, working genuinely, and becoming truly rich. If you are hesitant, if you are skeptical, try starting by observing. Look around where you live. How many people live simply, without showing off, without uttering philosophies, without posting success photos, but every year they renovate their house, buy a car, get a new phone, and fully provide for their family? Who are they? What do they do? You will realize one thing. Real life is much more practical than social media, and money doesn't follow those who speak well. Money flows to those who know how to work diligently. The sooner you understand that, the sooner you will escape the spiral of comparison and the mental traps that modern society sets for you every day. You don't need to do a great job in the eyes of others. You just need to do the right job for yourself, one that is suitable, long-term, in demand, valuable, and you do it better than 90% of others. That is the formula for wealth. Unflashy, no empty philosophies, just reality. Just dare to change your perspective. Dare to ask, are there any professions that don't require a degree but still bring stable income? That question will open a door for you, a door leading to paths less traveled. But once you walk that path, you won't want to turn back, because you will see that here no one is jostling, no one is fighting. It's just you with your work, with peace, and with money flowing steadily into your account every month. And then you will start to realize that not everyone needs to be famous to succeed. Not everyone needs a university degree to have a high income. Not everyone needs to step onto a stage to be called a winner. There are people who quietly work. They are not good at talking, they are not good at expressing themselves, but they are good at one thing: perseverance and seeing things through. They wake up earlier than you. Late at night, they are still planning and organizing work for the next day. They don't post stories, don't live stream, don't create content, but they live very authentically. They work very consistently, and money comes to them as a fair reward. This society inherently has its own rules. If you follow the crowd, you will be caught in an endless race. The harder you try to run, the more you will feel empty. But if you step back a little, choose a different direction, take a different path, you will discover that path is less crowded, but easier to breathe. And at the end of the path are achievements that many people never imagined.
I once met an elderly man who drove a motorized tricycle taxi in Tan Binh district. He said something that I will never forget. I can't talk well and I didn't study much, but I can live. My children go to school. My wife doesn't have to work every day. I work 10 hours a day, but I can control my time. I don't have to ask for leave. I don't get fired. I am free. Hearing that, I could only remain silent, because that is a form of success that many highly educated office workers who go to work early and come home late every day have not yet achieved. Quiet wealth sometimes isn't about the amount of money you earn, but about your autonomy over your life. You control your time, your decisions, your income. No one dictates to you, no one forces you, and that is the most sustainable wealth. Therefore, if you are feeling stuck, if you haven't found your direction, look back at the 5 professions I shared. You don't need to choose all of them. Just choose one, learn it thoroughly, work consistently and seriously. Then you will see that no matter how low your starting point, you can still go where you want, as long as you are persistent enough, realistic enough, and dare to walk a path unlike the majority. Don't let vanity deceive you. Don't let the eyes of others control your choices. Ultimately, only you live your life, and only you are responsible for your financial results. No one else will pay your bills. No one else will secure your future. So why live according to others' expectations when you can fully live according to your own choices? And if you have listened this far, I believe you possess a very special inner strength, because not everyone is patient enough to listen to real truths in a noisy world of flowery words. You have gone through the first parts. You have heard me talk about 5 seemingly simple professions that bring stable income, and you have also felt the difference in mindset between those who follow the crowd and those who choose to live practically, sustainably, and quietly.
Now, the biggest question remaining is, what will you do with what you have just heard? Some people will nod, find it interesting, then turn off the video and continue their old lives, repeating days with limited income and a feeling of stagnation. But there will also be people who, at this very moment, will put down their coffee, get up, and start truly researching one of the professions I just shared, and they are the ones who will change their future. I know that starting is never easy, and restarting is even harder, but in return, you will gain something others don't have: true self-confidence, true stability. No need to talk much, no need to prove yourself. Your life itself will reflect your choices. You might not have a high education, not be good at technology, not have connections, not have a favorable starting point. But if you have the right attitude, true diligence, and a see-it-through mindset, you will win. Maybe not quickly, but definitely stably. Money does not go to the smartest person. Money does not go to the best talker. Money goes to the most persistent person. And if today you decide to change, you won't need another year to prepare. You just need a week, a day, an hour to start taking action. And if you found this video valuable, if you feel it can help someone struggling with life, please share it. Who knows? You might be the person who helps someone else find light in their life. And if you want to continue accompanying me, continue listening to real-life lessons from real people, then press the subscribe button. Not for me, but for you, so you don't miss out on values where sometimes just one sentence can change an entire life. I'm the one who chose to make videos to inspire from reality. And you, the listener, are the reason I continue. Quiet wealth is not for those who like glamour, but for those who want to live true to their real values. And if you are that kind of person, I believe you will succeed, and you will succeed in your own beautiful and peaceful way.
Do you remember the feeling when you first held a few million Vietnamese dong in your hand from your own labor? It wasn't just money. It was the feeling of self-sufficiency, of understanding that you can do it without dependence. And that's when you begin to understand that income doesn't need to come from sophisticated professions, but from your own diligence, consistency, and seriousness with the profession. I once met a man in his early 40s from the Mekong Delta region. He didn't go to college, wasn't on social media, and didn't know how to run ads. Yet every month he earned over 100 million Vietnamese dong simply by doing one thing: custom woodworking. Customers sought him out because of his reputation, quality, and meticulousness down to every detail. He didn't post articles or preach. He just had a notebook listing clients and delivery schedules. That's it. Each time I asked him why he didn't expand or hire more people, he just smiled. "I have enough, son. Doing it this way is within my capacity. My wife and children are healthy, and there's no shortage of money. Why expand and suffer?" People like him, you won't see them at seminars. They don't give speeches, don't post philosophies online, but they live prosperously. They provide for their parents and children. They don't have debt. They don't worry about unemployment. That is success that doesn't need applause, and that is the common trait of the quietly rich. They have their own limits of enough. They don't chase the illusion of needing to earn a lot more than others. They just need enough to live comfortably, decently, and freely. And then, when they are not under pressure, they earn more than those who struggle for money all day long. We are living in an era where everyone wants to be a boss, but few understand that true mastery begins with mastering oneself, from time and mindset to emotions. The quietly rich know this well. They are not caught in the race. They choose stable, reliable work. They invest in things that can last 5 or 10 years, not chasing trends to make quick money in a month and then lose everything the next. A neighbor of mine, over 30 years old, has been doing in-home elderly care for nearly 6 years. Everyone thought it was hard and dirty work, but she is now fully booked all month, earning from 25 to 35 million Vietnamese dong, not to mention gifts and extra money from many appreciative families. But what I admire most is not the amount of money she earns, but her persistence and seriousness with the profession. Every day she is on time and every patient is cared for like family.
And when I asked her, "Don't you find it hard?" she just smiled. "It was at first, but now I'm used to it. Besides, if hard work brings value, it's worth it."
Hearing that, I remembered young people who complained, "I work 8 hours a day in an office, but my salary is only 10 million Vietnamese dong. I want to change jobs, but I haven't found anything better." So why not try a profession few people want to do? Why not try a different path? The biggest barrier is not external, but within your own mind. You're used to thinking that high-paying jobs must be clean, office-based jobs. But in reality, money doesn't care whether you work in an air-conditioned room or in the sun. Money only cares about what value you create, what problems you solve, whether you are trustworthy, and whether you are consistent. I once witnessed a ride-hailing driver who wasn't outstanding, wasn't good at talking, and didn't even have a high level of education. But every day he worked 10 hours, was very punctual, never skipped a shift, never canceled the trip. Every week, he submitted money and went home to pay his children's tuition on time. His wife stayed home and didn't need to work. One time I asked him, "Don't you feel tired, driving for dozens of hours every day?" He replied lightly, "Tired, yes, but it's better than sitting idle and thinking about borrowing money." A simple statement, but very profound, because it reflects one thing. The quietly rich don't think in terms of be comfortable first, then figure it out later. They think in terms of a little hardship now for safety, autonomy, and confidence later. You know what? When I sat and talked with these people who seemed so ordinary, I discovered they had one common characteristic: clear-headedness in every small decision. They don't splurge on new phones, they don't borrow money to spend, they don't travel to live virtually. They save every penny. They plan. They maintain discipline in spending, and thanks to that, they have real money, while many others out there have a beautiful image but empty wallets. That's why I always believe that quiet wealth is a lifestyle, a mindset, a strategic choice. And if you are thinking, "I also want to be rich, but I don't have opportunities like them," then you are making a big mistake, because opportunities are always around you. It's just that you haven't seen them because you are looking with the eyes of the majority. The majority always judges a profession by its reputation. Practical people judge a profession by its ability to generate income. The majority asks, "Is this job cool?" Practical people ask, "Does this job provide steady money?" The majority is attracted by appearances. Practical people choose professions based on logic, experience, and long-term calculation.
If you truly want to change your finances, learn to look at professions from the perspective of income, value, and societal demand. A profession doesn't need to be fashionable or trendy. As long as there is real demand, you can live well with that profession. And when you live well enough with a profession, you start to break away from the average. You have capital, you can invest, you expand, you hire more people, you automate, you increase productivity. And then you are no longer just a worker in that profession, but you become the owner of that profession. And when you have owned that profession, that is when you begin to touch true freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of decision, freedom of lifestyle. At that time, you don't need to worry about being late for work in the morning. You don't need to beg your boss when you want to take a few days off for family matters. You also don't need to look at your salary slip to calculate every meal or every tuition payment for your children. I know someone who was a delivery driver for 5 years, saved a significant amount of money, and then bought a small truck to deliver goods. A few years later, he no longer needed to drive. He hired people to drive, and he managed clients and delivery schedules. Now, every month, he only needs to organize contracts, and revenue flows steadily. He transitioned from a delivery person to an organizer of a delivery team. He didn't have a high education or start a $1 million project, but he had one thing: the mindset of an owner from the smallest tasks. And you can do that too. Start by doing one job exceptionally well, better than 90% of others. Do it thoroughly, with integrity, with conscience, and then the job will repay you with stability, steady income, and customer trust. When you have a skill in hand, you are not passive. You don't worry about unemployment. You're not afraid of anyone abandoning you. You're not afraid of market changes because you have a foundation, you have experience, and most importantly, you have the habit of earning money the right way. Try asking how many people out there change jobs 3 or 4 times in just 1 or 2 years.
They don't commit to any profession long enough for it to repay them what they deserve. Every few months, they look for new opportunities, complain that this job isn't suitable, try some new trend, and in the end, they always return to square one. Meanwhile, the quietly rich put their heads down and work. They don't talk much, don't complain. They accept the initial difficulties, then slowly improve their skills, raise their self-value, and after a few years, they have a stable profession, loyal customers, a steady income, and a peaceful life. They don't need anyone to call them boss. They also don't need to take glamorous photos. But whenever their child is sick, their parents need medicine, or there's an investment opportunity, they have real money to act immediately. And that's why I call them the quietly rich. They don't have many likes, but they have the power of choice. And the power of choice is the greatest luxury in this life. So, if you find yourself still stuck in a financial rut, review. Have you chosen the right profession? Are you truly serious about it? Have you worked long enough, well enough, consistently enough for the profession to repay you what they deserve? If the answer is no, then now is the time to start. No need to wait for anyone to guide you. No need to wait for ideal conditions. Just choose a profession with real demand that suits your ability and see it through. Quiet wealth is not luck, but the result of doing things right long enough without giving up. And I believe that if you follow that path, one day soon you won't need to ask how to get rich anymore, because by then, you yourself will be living in wealth, quietly but with great pride.